Welcome, everybody, to Always the Hard Way podcast with Michael Genay. First of all, I got to say thank you guys for everything, for allowing me to have a platform on all these social medias. Without you guys, this thing would not even be happening. For all the support for the last 2 years, it has been overwhelmingly amazing. And I hope that this just elevates everything to the next level. So that's the goal with this entire thing. So this is episode 1, and I have with me the lovely Sarah. She's been with me before social media, during addiction, and now after addiction. So please welcome Sarah.
Hey.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
And I want to give a thanks to Blue Couch Studio.
Absolutely.
Most badass production company out there.
Yeah, without them, seriously, this would not be happening. So shout out to Blue Couch Studios for sure. So episode 1, I'm just going to say, we're going to have a little bit of introduction. You know, a lot of people come through the social media and ask me, a lot of questions, and this person may get the answer, but then the next 20 that comes in they ask the same stuff. So hopefully we'll kind of compile that into this, and we'll, kind of get to know Sarah and Michael as a couple and as individuals. So
absolutely. So let's talk about this last weekend. You just went on your first boys trip.
Yeah.
To Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. So that, I'll be 42 in a few days here, and I've never been on a boys trip. That vacation was something I've never done as a child.
Tell them who you went with.
Yeah, I'll get there. Yeah, so on social media, DJ Burris, Curtis Woods, and Wesley Cole. If you don't know, check them out. Those are my good friends. I consider them brothers now that we spent that intimate time and sharing a house together for a while. It was a lot of fun.
We'll talk about how intimate.
Yeah, right. No, I've clicked with them for years online. But you don't know how that's going to transfer over to in person,
Right.
But it couldn't have gone any smoother. It really couldn't have gone any smoother. And they really are great guys. There was a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, just being silly as grown men, which is cool. It's something that helped me a lot going on that trip because I tend to be in that kind of serious mode a lot.
Yeah.
Not all the time. But to see them be so free, and be able to...
You've got a silly goose in you.
I do. I have a huge silly goose in me. A huge silly goose. But I'm not silly enough to go dance on Isaiah's leg over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that silly. But these guys were just so free. They don't care. Let's get the phones out. Just be It was good for my mental. Hey, quit taking life so seriously, man. Because a lot of my content is based around addiction, mental health, depression, anxiety, all these things. So it was good to kind of break the mold. I've been in such high spirits since I've been back.
I was so excited for you because you're such an empath and you can take on the energy of anyone that's around you. And I knew that those three vibed so high and that they were just going to fill your spirit. I was so excited for you. So that was so cool that you had the opportunity.
Yeah. I was blessed. And they're really sweet to think of me first to say, man, we want you to come on this trip. But we also know you're sober. Mm-hmm. People go to Nashville to party. It's known for bachelorette parties. It's known for big clubs and streets.
And they were drinking.
Oh, yeah. Nonstop. They drank, during the day. We go to brunch, and then we go back home to get ready. They're drinking there. Then we go out for the night, and they're drinking. So it was nonstop drinking, but it's different than my nonstop drinking. They had control, where someone like me recovering from alcohol, I just don't have that. There wouldn't have been a time where I wasn't drinking, but they had it together, man. I see people like that now, and hey, I'm gonna hate on it. You know what I mean? If you can do that and have fun and have your life together and take care of all your business and all that, do your thing, man. I'm just not one of those people.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I definitely want to get into your sobriety, but I think before that, we need to backtrack a little bit and talk about where your roots are.
So born and raised Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's funny, someone actually in Nashville, this girl came up. She's like, hey, I kind of recognize you. She said, where are you from? I said, Oklahoma. She said, gross. I was like, what? That shit's crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma, it's a lot different than people think. It can be gross.
Yeah.
I saw a Dollar General in Nashville that we walked by and a stray dog walked out. So let's not talk about that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, where was she from?
I didn't ask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She already shut her out when she said Oklahoma was gross.
I ain't got no time for you. So don't throw stones if you're walking around in a glass house. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't never seen a stray dog walk out of a store.
Which is actually shocking because I could totally picture that in Dawson.
Yeah, right. It's wild.
Where you grew up.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was when I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, it was very black and white, quite literally. It was trailer park white trash and it was ghetto black, and that's what it was. And that's how kind of school was. Outside of elementary was just kind of fun and learning how to color. And then middle school turned into like county jail. That's kind of what it was like.
What was home life like?
Home as a kid, kind of like during the elementary days, was pretty normal, I would say. Mom, dad, which turned out to be a stepdad that I didn't know until I turned teenager.
You found out that he wasn't your biological dad when you were a teenager.
Yeah, mom was taking me on my way to my driver's test, and she knew she was going to have to provide legal documentation. They've never took me to court. I was raised as Michael Taylor.
Yeah.
And she knew on my driver's license it wasn't fixing to say that. So she pulled over, was like, I got to tell you something. And then she's like,
wild behavior.
He's a stranger. You know what I'm saying?
He's a stranger.
I'm like, what?
Dad?
I knew it. Yeah, so I mean, it was a little shock, but it wasn't like I immediately hated.
You knew you didn't look like him.
Yeah. But I look like my mom. So, but I immediately knew that I didn't like my real dad.
Yeah.
I didn't hate my stepdad, but I knew I hated my real dad at that point in my life.
Did you and your parents get along?
Well, again, in those times, I don't know that anybody really hung out with their parents.
Right.
Yeah, it's a different time as a kid in the 80s and 90s. You weren't around your parents. I can tell you this. I definitely never talked to my dad, my stepdad. He just wasn't around. And I think that was kind of typical for everybody. And at least in my area, no one had a dad. Mm-hmm. They just weren't there, period. So you never talked to him. Even if he was around, you didn't see him. And then mom, same thing. She was never hanging around trying to kick it with us. And to be honest, I don't remember a time where I just sat there and was being held by my mom or she was tickling me like you do, like with the kids and stuff like that. So it was just different. There wasn't really a parenting structure going on.
Right. Yeah. Did you feel safe?
I didn't feel unsafe.
Yeah.
It was just existing, I didn't feel either or. There were some bad times for sure. I don't really know what my mom and stepdad was going through, but I know they hit some tough times, and I could definitely tell. I can't pinpoint, but there was a lot of times where there was no food, and I'm just like crying because I was so hungry. And there was times where, you're getting disciplined and it was way too far, way too far. I don't have to go into the depths of that, but,
right.
But
how did you get food?
Often, I had a lot of friends in the neighborhood and they would take care of me. Like, and that's just straight up. So shout out to everyone in the neighborhoods that take care of those kids that come through.
Yeah.
You know, some people are just less fortunate, man. And if you got it, you got a hot dog for them, man, it goes a long way.
And I've asked you this before, you know, you talked about some of those things that you were struggling with as a kid. And I asked if there was anybody in your school, like teachers or principals or counselors, that stepped up and tried to help. But you had said that so many kids were in your position that no one really reached out or brought you guys food or helped you with head lice or, you know, gave you some of those basic human needs.
Yeah. Again, different time period. I don't know that that was happening anywhere.
Right.
Maybe in some of those towns or cities that were farther along, like Los Angeles or New York or something like that. But here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was, you know, it's the Oregon Trail. Like, for real, over here. You fucking catch a raft on the swimming pool and get malaria real quick. Like, it's different over here.
Yeah.
So,
well, you were out on those streets. You had a good crew that you hung out with.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I got out of the house pretty young. I always kind of found my way back because everything that I tried just wasn't working. So, but I always had a place at mom's if I needed to come back. But I soon as ninth grade hit, I found a motley crew of dudes. Everyone's long hair or shaved head, just fucking wild, man, wild. And that's where I started falling in love with music and playing guitar. And I didn't really have love at the house. So I found it, and you'll hear that with a lot of people. You find this clique of misfits that get you, and that's your family, and you're like, you know. And we got into a lot of fucking trouble, man. But I believe that's common.
Right.
It's pretty common.
What were you like in school?
In elementary school, I really enjoyed it. Middle school, I absolutely hated it. It was very heavy in the Crips and Bloods era. You know, people was fighting. If I'm wearing a red shirt, I'm getting jumped for no reason. That don't even know who these people are. Then I'm like, oh shit, I'm not wearing red. Wear a blue shirt. Then you come get sucker punched in the hallway. I hated school. Fuck that. And then as far as the learning goes, I'm like, I've learned everything I've needed to learn up until like the 6th grade. I don't need nothing else that you're going to teach me because I already know I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a lawyer. I'm not going to go work in some high-rise building. None of that. I knew none of that's appealing to me, and I don't need to pursue this education that you guys are selling everyone else on. And it helps a lot of people. But I know a lot of people with student debt loan and degrees that ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
So
there, we were at his mom's house and we found some kind of a disciplinary paper. Tell him that story. Somebody had actually written out when you yelled down the hall.
Yeah, I was always getting in trouble in high school. I didn't want to go. I ended up dropping out in the 9th grade, but they kept forcing me to go for a while. And then I was just running down maybe running. Because they had security there, always trying to hem you up. And I was just saying, you know, like, F this school, it's a bunch of BS. And then they wrote me up and expelled me, and she wrote that on the actual document. And I still have that. It's like from the 90s, I think.
It was typed out.
From the 90s, yeah. Yeah, it's like,
he yelled, fuck this.
Yeah, right. So
that was so funny.
Yeah.
So was there a pivot? So when you dropped out of school in 9th grade, was there a day that you were just like, that's it, today's the day, I'm never going back to school? Did something happen? Like, how did that come about?
So I kept telling everyone, the parents, the school, the teachers, the dean or principal, whatever they are called. I told them, I'm not going to do this. And they kept telling me, yes, you are. It's the law. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to do it. You can make me come here every day. I'm going to leave. You can put all the paperwork in front of me to do. I'm not going to do it. That's how it's going to be. So I skipped school so much, they took my parents to court, and I got, in trouble for that.
I was going to say, were they pissed?
Hell yeah, they was pissed. But I was telling them, I don't know what to do because I'm not going. And eventually, so they failed me that 9th grade. They made me come back to the 9th grade. I said, I don't know what you think this is. I'm not doing it.
School.
So, right. And so then I went through that whole school year, and they made me come back to the 9th grade again. But I wasn't really there. I was skipping the whole time.
So you were failing the second year.
Yeah.
And then they said, come back a third year?
Another year. And then...
Which you should have been a junior at that point, right?
Yeah.
11th grade.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So they were like, the principal sat down with my mom, said, we just can't have you here.
I didn't want to be here.
Fuck, genius. About time you caught up with the program.
Yeah.
I've been saying this. So...
Only took 3 years.
Yeah, wasting my time and everyone else's. It was ridiculous. But I get it. You know, some kids are stubborn and you just need to kind of force your hand a little bit. But also nowadays, I think we're getting more hip across the board of learning. Like this whole system's not for everybody. It can work for a lot, but it also not for everybody too. So that's cool that we're getting that way.
Yeah, I like that too. And with your time, your free time is when you started learning how to play guitar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yep. I was smoking a lot of weed back in them days. I was out there, and long story short, I've done meth one time in my life. I hung out with the group. It was actually a room full of people I really didn't know. And they were all doing meth. We were playing Sega Genesis. Dude was playing guitar for hours. If you don't know about crystal meth, you're just up. And he was up and he was just jamming. And no one was doing nothing crazy. I mean, smoking meth.
Yeah. Nothing crazy. Just regular old kids. But, like you do.
Yeah, right. But soon as after hours and hours and hours passed, he put that guitar down, and I immediately said, "Can I check that out?" Because I was just watching him for a while, and he's like, "Yeah, sure." And then I just kind of messed around, and he showed me like a little. He's like, "Try this out," and he's like, "Man, you picked up on that pretty quick." And I was like, hell yeah. Then I seen the sun come up.
Were you playing what he was playing?
Yeah. He was showing me like this. It was like a little Beverly Hillbillies type of just one string type deal.
Right.
And so I immediately went home. I saw the sun come up out of the window. I said, oh shit, I got to get out of here. So I walked to my mom's, and as soon as I got there, I said, Mom, do you still have that old guitar? Because she used to kind of mess around on the guitar.
Yeah, your family has a history of music.
Yeah. So, and that guitar's actually here in this studio, hanging up over here on this wall. And it's actually a cousin of the family. He had it in prison, and when he got out, he came and sold it to my mom for like $20 or something. And so I got that. That's the first guitar I ever learned how to play on, hanging up right there. And it only had 3 strings on it at the time. And I sat on my mom's front porch swing and just started playing and playing and playing. And I never stopped since then. Never did meth again.
You quit math and you quit meth.
I quit math and I quit meth. And I picked up the guitar. And I've been playing since I was like 15 years old, man. It's really helped me through a lot,
Yeah.
Talking about the mental health and the addiction and depression and stuff when things got really crazy and I needed an escape.
Yeah.
Outside of alcohol and weed. I could sit down. If I didn't have alcohol or weed, I could get lost in the guitar, the art of music. It really helped me a lot. It really did. What's up, you sexy, 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 sexy people out there? Make sure you're tapped in with us on the Instagram, Michael_Genay. Lock in with us on TikTok, magic.mike.g. And if you want to get really sexy, send us an email at alwaysthehardwaypodcast@yahoo.com. You want to send an audio message? You want to talk to the champ? Hit us up. You want to send a video submission? You want to be seen? I might like to see you. We'll see you down there.
Something pretty profound you said one time. Because of your addiction, a lot of your life would end up in a series of unfortunate events. And it would always just be you and your guitar. And there was something very special about that to me. It made me realize that your guitar has always been the one that's been there for you.
Yeah, for sure. Because I always had a guitar, and you know, back then I was trying to be a ladies' man. I didn't have nothing, so I would
ladies' man.
Yeah.
Some Courvoisier.
I would find a woman, and I just didn't have an honest bone in my body, man. I didn't know what I was doing.
You're a gypsy soul for sure.
Yeah, definitely a gypsy. But I didn't know how to say that. I would lie, making them think that I wanted this.
I won't get you pregnant.
Yeah. That's crazy, right? Yeah. I would tell them all these things that they wanted to hear so I could get some of their money, so I could use their car, so I could stay at their house and get fed and get freaky. So it was, yeah. So and that led me into meeting my oldest daughter's mom. I worked at a pizza shop, which was a whole nother thing, a whole big crew of drug dealers and alcoholics and degenerates, and you know.
I want to talk about the moms, because I especially want to talk about your mom, because first of all, she's probably the coolest person I've ever met in my whole life.
Mom?
Yes. Like, she's so fucking cool. Like, there's just such an air about her that is, it's like meeting a celebrity or being around a celebrity. I don't know what that is, but I want you to talk about your mom a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that about mom now, because mom back then was wild. And when I say wild, she wasn't this cool, calm, collected, healed soul that she is now. Because you are right. It's kind of like sitting down with what I would think hanging out with Stevie Nicks would be or something.
Yeah.
You know? She has that old soul hippie vibe
peaceful,
to her. Yeah.
But a little intimidating, because I'm like, I don't want to disappoint her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so back then she was, I don't know, I'm so out of tune with my parents, I don't know what she went through.
Right.
I do know some, and I could see why she's kind of was the way she was, and she wasn't expecting to have kids at that young of age. You know what I mean?
She was young.
She met
and she did it on her own.
Yeah, she met this dude that wasn't shit, talking about my dad.
Right.
Got her pregnant and left her high and dry. Moved her from Oklahoma to Pennsylvania and left her high and dry out there. And, like, she moved back to Oklahoma, and just left her. You know, I don't think that he ever even saw me. I think he was already gone when I was born. Which is crazy, man. But again, not uncommon.
You and your mom have this connection like I've never seen with anybody. It's almost like you read each other's minds. You can feel what each other feels. It's so beautiful. And I don't know if you realized it before I've ever said something. Have you noticed that with her?
No. Again, we weren't really connected back in the day. She was disconnected and I was too. It felt like she didn't want this whole family thing, and I didn't either. Yeah. And we didn't talk realistically for like 10 to 12 years here.
But it's more like a force of nature. It's not like something that you guys could create, I guess. Yeah, for sure. It's just in our genetics. Yeah. But I will say this, she has always supported, like, me. I have 2 siblings. I have more, but that's from my bio dad that I don't even really know, you know. But as far as that grew up in my household, I have a sister from him, you know, my older sister, and I have a younger brother who's from my stepdad. And I will say this, Mama always loved me more. Wow.
What's so funny about that? I mean,
I'm just going to let Judy and Steven come for you on that one.
They come at me. Come at me. It's the truth. Mom always thought that I was going to do something special. She put me into modeling when I was like in the 5th and 6th and 7th.
Oh yeah,
grade.
you were in the magazines.
I was in magazines and shit. And she really, and then when I started playing guitar, she's like, oh yeah. She was pushing that because like we got a family full of musicians. She was like, yeah, this. And she really believed in me on that. I will say she loved my brother more to feed him. I'm just saying. I'd be sitting there hungry, and she would show up with a bag of McDonald's and give it to my brother and not give me shit. And I was like, fuck him.
I'd eat a McFish.
Yeah. It was wild, man. Even my friends were like, how come Bubba gets fed and you don't?
Yeah.
He's a bitch.
I got a guitar.
Yeah. So, and then just to bounce off of that, it wasn't only my mom. A lot of my friends, they were. I heard it a lot throughout my life. Like, and this sounds weird talking about yourself like that, but this is just what other people would tell me. They're like, "Man, you got this thing about you." Like this presence, this aura.
Je ne sais quoi.
I don't even know what that means because I don't speak Spanish. But there's this. They say I have that thing, and no one can really define what that is. I mean,
it's when you step into a room. I mean, your presence is known. Everyone wants to look at you, hear what you have to say. I mean, you have that aura.
Yeah, so to imagine this, like we opened up the show with that Nashville trip, stepping into a room with 3 other people like that.
Oh yeah,
that's wild.
That would have been fun.
It's wild,
yeah.
You know, because you are used to when you walk into a room, people are like, even though they might not say nothing, but you can just feel the energy is like, the attention. Whenever there's like 4 of you, you're like, what the fuck's fixing to happen?
Yeah, that's rare because usually it's one person in a group like that. But for all 4 of you, vibe real high.
Oh yeah. I was ready to piss in a corner just to let them know.
Yeah, we shit in the streets.
I gotta tell that story.
Tell it.
I used to play in a hardcore band called Sworn Against, and when we did our thing, it wasn't nothing big, but we, played shows like in the surrounding states of Oklahoma, and that was probably the best era of my life outside of right now. Mm-hmm. That was my dream, was to be a rock star and travel around, and we got to open up for bands that I absolutely loved. We got tight with the promoters here in Oklahoma.
Watching you on stage is so fun.
Oh, it was the best, man. And then we was on the radio stations, and then we had a CD out, and and getting into all the fights and the mosh pits and shit. It was so much fun. But our singer, and I'm a pretty big guy, and our singer was little, and the drummer's pretty big. So our singer was pretty little, but he's rowdy as fuck. His name's Alan Britt, and I love you, my brother. I do. And we was getting into a fight, and it was like kind of a group setting, and he's got this real graspy voice, and he's like, motherfuckers, you don't know who you're fucking with. I shit in the streets. And I'm like, I went from fight mode to like checking in on my friend. Like, are you all right, bro?
We didn't know.
The whole group. The offense and the defense was like, damn. Let me talk to him real quick. It was wild. It was wild. But yeah, that was a great time of my life playing music. Now when I live stream, I'll often play guitar. Some people love it, and some people don't really mind it. But it is something that's dear to my heart, and I'll forever play guitar.
Oh yeah, it's in your soul. So let's go back to your Mazio's days. That's when you met Crystal, who is Alexa's mom, and also an angel on earth.
Right. Yeah. So for those that don't know, Mazio's, that's only like an Oklahoma thing. It's a pizza shop.
Oh, okay.
That's a pizza shop, pizza chain here. And so I worked there, and I met this girl, and we just, she invited me over one night, and we got it on, and then it was like A little while later, she comes up to me and says, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm pregnant," you know? And it was just a one-night stand type of deal.
And you guys were how old?
18, 19.
Like 20, 21, I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. She was born when
I'm doing the math right now. You were 21.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, 21. So that was wild. In no way was I wanting kids.
And you were in the hardcore band at the time. You were in Sworn Against then?
Yeah, yeah. It was something else before then. It evolved to Sworn Against.
Gotcha.
It was a really shitty metal band at first called Hatred for All. But
of course.
What was the Crack House Kids? The Crack Rats? What was it? Yeah. So yeah, but Crystal, I tried to straighten up. When I say tried, I
didn't try.
Told lies, and
right.
You know, she would come home and see me with another woman in the house. She would come home and see another woman with me in the car. She would be at work. I would be at home drinking. It was just bad. She was going to school and working. I wasn't doing shit.
And taking care of Alexa.
And taking care of the kid. I wasn't doing anything. So eventually she had enough, and she moved on. And I really didn't care, you know? Like, I didn't want this relationship or this kid. So really, like, thank you. Like, I'll see you down the road. And that's, I know, sad to say out loud, but it just is what it is.
No, I think it's really important to talk about this stuff because there's a lot of shame associated with behaviors, especially with addicts. And if we don't talk about this stuff, then it's never going to get resolved. And I think people need to hear it. People need to hear the truth, and especially from your perspective and also from Crystal's perspective of the time, you know. So I think it's really important to talk about, and it'll be a great way for us to get into your sobriety and how you got there. But no, I think it's important to talk about. Yeah,
for sure. And I was out of touch with Crystal and Alexa, my oldest daughter, for a long time. I even moved out of state for a while because I was getting in so much trouble here. Because
you're a fighter. You were just getting in all kinds of trouble.
Getting into a lot of fights. And I tried to, you know, stay in shape and joined an MMA gym and a boxing gym and all this stuff, and tried to like channel that energy in the right way. But I still, even if I was training and competing, I would still be drinking and fighting.
You weren't being responsible.
No, not at all. So yeah, I moved from Oklahoma to Kansas and fucked off out there basically, and came back to Oklahoma. And then just kept fucking up. Just same old song, meeting women, getting out, meeting women, getting out. Yeah.
So that's interesting. I haven't talked about this with you before. You always need to be around someone. You always need someone like around. I mean, you have your alone time, but it's difficult for you. You struggle with alone time. In your active addiction, it almost, and I just thought about this just now, it seems like you set yourself up to be alone all the time. You would self-sabotage yourself to ruin a good situation so that you were stuck alone again with your guitar. Have you ever thought about that?
No, I haven't. And that's pretty deep, you know. But you are right. I don't like being alone. I really don't. Which is sad because, you know, for a lot of people, they're like, man, I just want to get out and just feel some peace. Whenever I'm alone, that's when it's the most chaotic.
Right.
That's when everything is the loudest.
Your anxiety is the highest.
Oh man, and the depression and the self-worth and the self-love, all of it. I mean, these voices up here, man, they are not friendly. And when I say voices, I don't hear voices. It's just these thoughts that
the
come
addiction,
through.
the knocker.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me. I wasn't mindfully self-sabotaging so everyone would leave me, but that is absolutely what happened. Maybe it's one of those things where there's no fires going on. I have to create one.
Right.
And start all over again. You
found peace and chaos.
100%. You know, it's that saying that peace feels unsafe to those raised in chaos.
Right.
And it really, really does. It really does. Like at nighttime is my most hated time of the day because I know everyone's shutting down and I know I'm going to have to lay down for a while. And
right.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Yep. You do struggle with that. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks.
So then I don't want to miss anything kind of in between there, but when you were in Kansas, I can't remember, I guess it was, 10 years ago, you had another little kid.
Yeah, so that's another kind of weird story, going out there and living with some friends, and I go to Kansas City to a big downtown like party down there. And this random girl comes up, and I don't even remember if she said anything to me or she just kissed me. It was just like, there she is, you know? And we rode out the whole night together. I was there with the girl. And then Megan, Parker's mom, she came up to me, kissed me, and said, I'm going to be at this bar. You come find me. Me and my friends are going over there. So I told the girl that I went there with, I said, you go ahead. I'm going to go hang out with this other girl. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Megan's hot.
Yep. Yeah. And so I walked around and I was broke too. I was broke.
Right.
And I walked around and I finally found her. And then she's like, what's up? And we started kicking it, and she was buying me drinks. So obviously, I didn't have no fucking money.
Yeah.
And then we hung out all night, and then she gave me her number. Come to find out, she lived like, I don't know, I want to say 3 hours away from Kansas City. They were there just on a girls' trip. So me and her started talking, and I don't remember how long, a month, 2. And she invited me to a family lake trip, and I ended up moving 3 hours from Kansas City to this little town, Hutchinson, Kansas, where I didn't know anybody but her. And she had told me that she couldn't get pregnant. That's the whole reason she had just got divorced.
The reverse Uno.
Her ex, they found out they just couldn't have kids together, you know, and that was it. And so she was under the assumption. She told me, I can't have kids. And I was like, bet. And then here we are, not far down the road. She's like, I'm fucking pregnant. Gotcha, bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
you got a global icon and a national treasure out of it.
Yeah, right. So
you have the best kids.
Yeah, the kids are lovely now.
Amazing kids on this planet.
And I really did. Megan was the first girl. So I was, that was 10 years ago?
9, yeah.
That's the first.
Well, 10, I guess. Yeah.
10 years ago was the first time that I started being faithful as a man. So I was 31 years old. Ish, you know, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think Megan was really good for you in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, she supported you and also taught you that it doesn't have to be chaotic. You can find peace.
Yeah, the fighting stopped. I don't think I fought anybody the whole time I was with her.
Right.
Didn't cheat on her. Really tried to, and we got engaged. Never got married, but we got engaged. We really tried on that one, you know?
Yeah.
But my addiction got the best of that relationship.
Yeah, so talk about that. What happened?
Yeah, I was going from job to job to job to job. I don't know how many jobs I had out there. I just couldn't hold them because I was just always drinking. You know, I was feeling like shit. I was missing work. I was calling in or I was fucking up, you know. And eventually, the last straw was like, she was like, there's a family function. It was Thanksgiving. You got to get ready. We got to go. And I said, basically I'm saying, I'm not going. She's like, yeah, you have to. It's family. And I was like, it's your family. It's not mine. I'm going to sit here and drink. And she's right then.
Had you been on like a binge at the time?
Probably.
Or? Okay.
I don't really remember. I was always drinking.
Oh, okay. Your life was a binge.
Yeah, pretty much. It was rare that if I did stop drinking for a period of time, it was just to usually prove a woman wrong. She's like,
and then how long would that time period be?
Let's just say I would go 2 weeks, or I would say I can go a whole month without drinking, and I would.
Yeah.
Just to prove them, and then I'd go right back.
That
the day of, boom, told you,
Yeah, I have control.
Yeah. So yeah, she finally saw that, and she was like, this ain't gonna work. I'm out. So once again, Crystal left me, my first baby's mom. She left me, took everything. It was me sitting in a front room with a guitar. Boom. Megan leaves. Everything's gone. All the furniture's gone. It's me sitting in a room playing guitar with my boy Bison.
I was going to say, that's when Bison,
Bison was there towards the end of that relationship. And we'll definitely link up with him. Bison's a good buddy of mine. Oh, yeah. And then I moved back home and back to Oklahoma. And things got worse. I started drinking more. Linked up with one of my buddies that is complete chaos, way worse than me, and you know who I'm talking about. And we were, I don't know what that word is, man, but fire and dynamite, or
y'all were something else.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. Whenever I first started hanging out with you and I came over to your house and just wanted a cup of water, but y'all didn't have cups, I was like, what in the Raising Arizona is going on here?
Yeah, we just lived like that. But it was all violence. It was all gas, no brakes. And that led me to my first DUI, man. I was just drinking heavily, and then I pulled up to the McDonald's drive-thru at like 2 a.m. It was one of those 24-hour McDonald's. I ordered my food. I'll never forget. I ordered a double quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, and a 20-piece nugget.
It's crazy to think about you eating like that, but go ahead.
And I ordered it, and I pulled up, and the line was long as hell. And I ended up falling asleep. I was like watching a YouTube video, and I just like dozed off.
It's not funny, but it's funny.
But my foot was so heavy on the brake, I didn't move. But the car was in drive, and apparently all the McDonald's crew came out there because everyone's just like, "What the honking?" and everyone's like cussing me out and all.
You
this
were
stuff. out. And if those people that know me, that's how I was. If I blacked out and got drunk and passed out, you're not getting me up. And that's happened multiple times throughout my life. But anyway, the cops ended up showing up and making sure they woke my ass up. And they took me to jail. Got my DUI. And I had nothing. I had fucking nothing. And you're talking a fresh DUI having to do with all the hoops that they put you through with that. If people that don't know how that whole DUI thing works, you have to go through a lot of shit.
You had a breathalyzer in your car.
I had a breathalyzer in the car. You had to go through all these court dates, pay lawyers, go through all these classes and the driver's stuff and the driver's license. And it was a lot for someone that didn't have. First of all of that cost money. All of it cost money. I didn't have none. So how am I supposed to jump through these hoops? You know what I mean?
You didn't have a job at the time.
I did not have a fucking job.
Yeah, you didn't even have a job.
I didn't have no job. The car it was that truck that I had that was a whole bunch of different colors, leaned on one side, no air conditioning.
No air conditioning.
Yeah, that motherfucker was crazy. And that led up to where I met you. I had no job. The car that I had was barely going. I was very unhealthy. I was broken. I was defeated. And
I said, meow.
But I'll never forget it. I was telling you kind of all of this on the back porch out at your house, and you had said
we met at a bike race. We met at a Tulsa Tough, which is a huge bicycle race here.
Yep.
And just chatted it up. So anyways.
What up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Always the Hard Way. I appreciate all the love. Make sure you tap in with us right here on Instagram, Michael_Genay. Tap in with us right here, magic.mike.g. And I encourage you to send in some audio messages or video messages. I'd like to hear from you. We'll play them over the air. So you can send that to alwaysthehardwaypodcast@yahoo.com. Boom, right there. And I appreciate the love, man. Look forward to hearing from you. So anyway, coming back to your house, and I told you all this stuff, and you, I was like laying on your chest out there on the love seat out there, and you were just kind of holding me and telling you all this. I was crying, which at that time, I didn't really know how to let those kind of emotions out.
You were defeated.
I was so defeated, I just couldn't hold it back anymore. You know how a lot of men will just stuff this stuff way down and let that shit digest.
Wrap it in pride.
Yeah. And that's what I always did. You know, men don't cry.
Right.
So I was just crying and telling you all this stuff, and you were like, you said, I see you. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that, because that was like the first time in my life that I felt that someone actually did, but it was also really the first time in my life that I was ready to be seen. Because Crystal was a great woman. Megan was a great woman. And so many others that really wanted something with me. They were good people. Some of them were skanks and hoes and tricks, for sure.
For sure.
But for the most part, they were nice, man, and they wanted something, but I didn't.
Right.
And you saw it, and at that time, I wanted something different. But that's not where sobriety happened. Me and you got together.
Yeah, we were drinking.
Yeah, and we were drinking together, and you said, I know somebody that owns a company. We'll get you an interview, and I got the job. And
yeah, I'm a fixer. I'm just...
Yeah, you saw all these problems. You're like, boom, boom, boom.
Give me that project.
Right.
Yes.
And so you took me on and took me in and introduced you to the girls, and they really, really liked you. And that's been a beautiful thing to watch throughout the course of the years, is how well the kids really love you and you love them. It's like all of it was meant to be. You hear it all the time.
It was so meant to be.
Right.
The stars were aligned for sure. And I think even the times that we tried to break up, the universe would just push us back together. It was like we couldn't even break up.
Yeah, right. But then there was a time where enough was enough. It was when COVID happened.
Right.
And before we get to that, me and you would drink and we would just have fun.
Yeah.
I would never get belligerent and fight nobody.
We still don't. We don't argue. We never I don't know.
We argue, but not like, it's rare.
But I mean, it wasn't like we drank and got in tussles or anything, just we just chilled and had fun. It wasn't crazy.
And then COVID happened. And that was when the whole world kind of went loopy, and I caught COVID, and my work told me,
Well, let me back up. I don't mean to interrupt you, but at the time you were still living in that other house with that other person and coming back and forth. And I worked in the hospital, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's a global pandemic. It's chaos in the hospital. We're wearing beekeeper suits. It was nuts. And I was like, you can't continue to go back and forth. Remember that?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's when you were like, oh, okay, well, I'll just stay here. And that's when you moved in.
Right.
Yeah.
COVID forced this relationship.
Yep.
That's crazy.
It was just that was another way that the universe just kind of, it was, you either go this way or this way. You know, you had to make a choice. And it seemed like that happened so many times in the beginning that the universe was like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
If you guys are going to do it, you got to be together. You got to work through this together.
Yeah. And so, okay, yeah, you're right. And then, so I caught COVID you had said you got to either stay there or stay here. So I chose to stay here and caught COVID. Work said,
I had cups.
Yeah, you did have cups. Yeah. Work told me, like, you cannot be here for 2 weeks. And that's when you caught on to how much I was actually drinking.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. And that's when you said, you're not just going to sit around here and drink all day. And I'm sitting there saying, like, I don't have shit to do, you know? Like,
yeah.
I'm making a salary. I'm getting paid no matter what. I got 2 weeks to hang out, you know? And which is true, but also you saw, like, this isn't healthy. This is not good for you to wake up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. You're already drinking. By 10, I'm already buzzed.
And at this point, I have to say, because you were home, like it was like I could see you more. Your skin was gray. You were, 280 pounds. You were basically had isolated yourself into the living room playing PlayStation nonstop. You weren't hanging out with your friends or going out anywhere and also we couldn't because of COVID too. But it just helped kind of like pull that curtain back for me to look at you physically in a healthy way and go, oh, wow. Like, I recognize that you had really gotten deep into this addiction.
Yeah. And I was bad for a while,
And I think when you're with someone day to day, you don't notice it as much, I guess. I don't know. When you're just living life and, you know, doing work and kids and house and all the responsibilities. But yeah, I think that was the first time that I was like, whoa.
And then you had set once you've had enough of seeing what you were seeing, you had said, like, I'm not going to do this no more. I can't sit and watch you just kill yourself every day. I don't want to be in a relationship like this. You're completely checked out. You don't give a fuck about nothing else. So you're going to have to, I don't even know if you said stop drinking completely or cut back or something, but
I know what I said.
What's that?
I said, you can be the best alcoholic you want to be. You just can't be it here.
Yeah, I remember that bullshit.
That's exactly what I said. You could be number one. You can get an Olympic gold medal. You just can't do it here. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, and I remember being full of pride.
Oh, yeah.
And ego.
Oh, yeah.
Like, fuck what she's talking about. I won't do it here then.
You went and sat in your car and drank in your car in the driveway.
Hell yeah. So.
And I was like, nope, you can't do it there either. But good try.
It turned out there was like a week or two that I was just gone. I was drinking and driving everywhere that I went, and ended up finally getting hold of an old buddy of mine, high school friend, and kind of told him what was going on. He's like, you always got a place here, dude. And I drove out there. I don't even know where there is. To this day, I don't even know where the hell that was. And just kind of stayed there. And I knew his kid. I've been knowing his kids since they was babies. And his kids were teenagers. And we were just hanging out and hung out with him. He, just hanging out. But I was up in like an attic room. And I just stayed there, you know. Whoever wanted to come up there and hang out, kind of come up there and hang out. And then I was just stayed drunk. I only came down to get my beer. I would grab like 6 of them, go back up. And there was one night, as I was just circling the drain, I was going further and further down into my addiction. And here I am again. Here I am one more time. Had another relationship. I had the job. I had the car. I had, you know, kind of get my life on track again. And here's the addiction taking it all away. And I was just sad again and defeated. And I was drunk, but I was like a different drunk. Like, I don't want to do this no more drunk. And I'm not talking about drink. I'm talking about living.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm done. Because life just wasn't enjoyable anymore. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was heavily thinking about in my mind that night. And you had texted me a link to a Theo Von clip. And he was answering like a fan question.
And I wasn't messaging you at that time. I just let you go. Like, we weren't having this back and forth. But I did, like a week later, sent you that clip.
Yeah, there was no communication between us. There was no checking in or this is over. And it was just
I
silence.
had to go no contact. Yeah.
Radio silence. And that night, when I was really thinking like, I need to go drive my car off of a fucking cliff or something, you know, like, because this is not good. I'm not good for anybody, myself or anybody else. And I'm sitting in that kind of depression. And I'm on a floor, like on a mattress, and there's alcohol all around me. And I get a text, and it's something you sent. And I click on it, and it's Theo Von. And I wish I still had that clip where I could find it. But he was talking about alcoholism. And Theo, he can be really silly, really funny, and he's brilliant. But he can also tap into that real life shit.
Oh, yeah. And
that's what he was doing here. And he was talking about addiction. And he was very emotional about it. And it just touched me. It took someone, because I'm inspired by Theo. I look up to him. I respect him. Never even met him, but what he has done with his show and everything that he puts out there, that clip in particular really hit my heart and my soul. And as I drifted off into sleep, you know, I was emotional. I woke up that next morning, and I knew this is it, man. I looked around me. All the smell of old stale beer, all the cans coming up off the floor, feeling like shit, full of depression and anxiety. I said, this is it, man. Are you checking in or checking out? And I was at that crossroads mentally. And I still to this day couldn't tell you what that was that said check in. It wasn't like a vision of kids or family or success or proving anything. It was just something just overcame me and was like, you got to lock the fuck in, man, now. And that's when I cleaned up everything, all my mess, and I told everyone bye. And that's when I called you and surprised you answered, to be honest, but I feel like we were both kind of relieved.
I missed you. And I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared. I didn't know what you were going to do. I didn't know if I was ever going to see you again, you know?
Right. And I called you, and we kind of said whatever at the beginning, but I told you, and I was again broken, defeated. And I said, probably crying, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I want help. Mm-hmm. And you had said, if you truly mean that, come home. Mm-hmm. And boy, I did. Yeah. And as soon as I came in, You had asked if I had alcohol on me. I did. You said, let's get rid of it. And we poured it all out. And as soon as we poured that last one out, my body went into shock.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was so used to having it around. I know if I start feeling any kind of way, all I have to do is crack the top, knock a couple back, and it all smooths out.
Yeah, that was your security.
As soon as we poured that last one out, I knew, oh, shit. What did I just sign up for?
Yeah, I think I thought that too.
Right, because how many people say they're going to do anything and don't follow through with it? But especially with an addict, how many people say they're going to get sober and they don't?
And you were just so severe. Like your reflux, your anxiety, your depression, the shaking, the vomiting, the night sweats, the up and down, like it had just gotten so bad. Like you were so physically dependent on that.
Yeah, for sure. And I tell people I was drinking about 30 beers a day, and a lot of people, I don't think they think I'm serious.
Oh yeah, he was definitely drinking.
And that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's damn near $30 a day, you know. I can't remember what it was, $24.99 or something like that.
I don't know.
But
everybody at the store knew you. Like it was just a routine. Like I remember you would go into the convenience stores, hey, what's up? Like every day it was, it becomes kind of like this life ritual that just, you can somehow tell yourself that it's normal, and it's not okay, because anytime that it's interfering with your health or having a negative impact on your life, your family, your responsibilities, then it's a problem.
100%.
But yeah, you did it. You did that shit. And here we are 4 years later, and you have now finally, after many years of me asking, decided to go to therapy. And you've been in therapy for a good 6 months now. How long do you think, maybe?
Yeah, I think we're over 6 months.
Yeah, and every time you go, you talk about how it just fills your cup up, and that's the one real good thing that helps you to overcome some of your, when you stop drinking or you become sober, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you have it all figured out. You have to deal with the mental health part of it. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. And so I think it's so wonderful that you've recognized that therapy has given you an avenue to navigate your mental health in a positive way.
For sure. And it's one of those things like, just like you can't force someone to go to rehab and expect it to happen. Like you had asked me to go to therapy for 3 years.
Right.
I was 3 years sober. And I always said, like, I don't want it. Don't think I need it. But it came a time on my own to where I thought, okay, I've got myself in shape. Mm-hmm. I eat a clean diet. I got healthy relationships. Everything in my life that I could make right, I did. And of course, there's always room to grow. But as far as like in the grand scheme of things, I did so much work to get rid of anxiety and depression and these mood swings, these ups and these downs and stuff like that. I got tired of trying to battle this up here.
Right.
And I finally said, I got to go to a mental health clinic and see what's going on. Hey guys, thanks for watching episode 1 of Always the Hard Way. Thank you guys for being here with us. And once again, lock in with us on all social medias, Instagram, Michael_Genay, TikTok, magic.mike.g, and YouTube, Always the Hard Way Podcast with Michael Genay.